Hello and welcome back to the Lost Sheep podcast. I'm Evan Abear. This is
Nazario Pangallo.
And Cole Bissett.
welcome back to the Lost Sheep podcast. We're here for a very special 41st episode. Super excited. We've hyped this one up for quite a while, I feel like. But we are finally here with our mailbag episode. We have all these wonderful questions submitted by you people with the help of friends here at the St. Francis University Parish. Before we get into all that, Cole, we have a few things we'd like to share.
So if you haven't noticed yet, I am wearing our t-shirt. Like I said, we collabed with the Christ-like brand. So you have the Christ-like logo on the front. I don't know if I can get in the frame. No, probably not.
Oh,
that's
failure.
Hold on. I'm just going to stand back here. So this right here is the design on the back. The only thing it does not include is Evan's name, which is now included on the t-shirt. If you buy it now, his name will be on there. The material is going to change shortly to a more durable and softer material. So if you're feeling like buying something and supporting us, we would love it. Go up onto our Instagram page. The link is in there in our bio. If not, you can also go to the Christ-like Instagram page, and the link is there as well. So before we talk about our week just very briefly. This is our question box. I've reviewed them all. I don't remember a lot of them. There's only like a couple that I actually know. It's very exciting. He had a question last week that we're not going to get to today, but we want to cover it again, probably in part 2 for the second half of part 2, because I doubt we're finishing this in episode. But yes, we will get to your question. And Nazario, would you like to tell us why today is so special for you?
Well, today is Valentine's Day, if you didn't know. And, for me, I thought it was just going to be a great bromantic Valentine's Day with Cole Bissett. But I actually got a special surprise last night.
Does our guest want to pop in and say hey and wave?
My girlfriend, Caitlin Payne, decided to surprise me. So there she is, if you can see her on the YouTube feed. But that was an amazing Valentine's gift. I've never gotten a better Valentine's Day gift than that. So my weekend is a lot better.
Yeah, what would you say?
What I say? She
Yeah,
wasn't here?
if she wasn't here, we were just talking about our bromance.
Yeah,
The
the whole conversation would just be about that. But she is here. So, yes, that was an awesome surprise last night. I was on the phone with my mom, and I literally go, "Mom, Caitlin's here." And my mom was like, "Caitlin who?" Because she did not understand what was going on.
It was kind of an odd I expected him to be like the really like jump up and down and like, like happy type. And he's just on the phone. He's like,
well, he went like this. He was holding a phone, and you can see him go. And he's like his eyes are wide. You were in full shock. I think your brain was. I think his emotions were starting to lead his action because he didn't hug her before he cried. I mean, I'm just saying. I talked to my Bible study about that this week, and I think their opinions are starting to swell.
My head still hurts from that conversation.
Crazy conversation. But so news for us is we're going to search this week. So exciting stuff. Well, this weekend. Exciting stuff.
They're leaving in approximately 4 hours.
Yep.
4 hours.
It's exciting. I'm excited. Are you excited?
I'm super stoked. I've been on team. This will be my third or fourth semester now on team. I love search. It's a fantastic retreat. I have the opportunity to give a talk again this semester, so I'm really, really hyped about that.
You're the last talk of Saturday, is that right?
Last talk on Saturday.
Saturday.
So I'm the God's Loving Mercy talk, which has always been something that I've wanted to do and to talk about. So super stoked, obviously a little nervous, but really excited for to get there, and just good things always happen on search. So
yeah, and then they unfortunately will miss the greatest matchup in Alabama-Auburn basketball history.
Probably in Coleman Coliseum.
No, so my professor actually said this, and this is a guy who graduated from the university in the 60s, right, and all this stuff. And he was like, just so we're aware, this is the greatest basketball sporting event professional, well, I mean, I understand there's not professional, but professional, amateur, collegiate that has ever happened in the state of Alabama. And this isn't some like schmuck, like this is a guy that's been following sports and basketball. He goes to every game, he sits behind the bench. His seat is like 4 away from Mark Sears' mom. So like this is a serious hombre. Like he knows what he's talking about.
This is the first time that Alabama and Auburn have both been top 5 teams playing each other. I think they've played as ranked teams like less than 10 times.
Mm-hmm.
It's only like the 6th time that the number 1 and number 2 teams have played each other in the regular season, and the first time that's happened in SEC history. It's absolutely incredible. And these teams it's insane. It's insane.
I was gonna say, I mean, the fact that it is the first time and the fact that it's 1 and 2 is unbelievable in and of itself. Like, it is going to truly be one of the greatest sports atmospheres probably in Alabama history. I don't think nothing in basketball can probably match like the atmosphere you get in the football because there's so many people.
See, but I always say like collegiate basketball is the best atmosphere ever. Like whenever I watch Duke UNC, whenever I watch all these mid majors go and like, you know, their schools have only 8,000 people, but somehow they're filling these auditoriums, like these 50,000 person auditoriums when they play games, you know, when they're ranked number 6 in the country and all this stuff. Like that is one of the craziest atmospheres ever. It's just
I'm going to be getting constant updates on my watch tomorrow that the environment is too loud because it's inside. So the sound is very different than an outside stadium, even though 100,000 people compared to 15,000 is different.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to be wild.
Yeah, if we put a dome on Bryant-Denny, it would be lights out electric, but
domes are boring. We need to have our flyovers.
Yeah. I was going to say, are you saying like in sports in general, you think it's the greatest atmosphere?
Collegiate basketball?
Just in sports.
In sport,
collegiate basketball?
Everything included?
Oh, I wouldn't say everything because there are like, and you know, not to toot my own horn, but like South American soccer or like Eastern European soccer, those Johns are crazy.
I mean,
like,
the World Cup, like there were deaths after games. Like people were breaking out in fights, and it was wild.
Pure passion wise, I would definitely say like soccer fans across the world beat collegiate basketball, but atmosphere, safe atmosphere, I would take collegiate basketball, like UNC Duke or something like that. Yeah.
Alrighty, well, we need to move on to our questions because if we did the intro forever, we probably wouldn't even get through half of these. So we're gonna go ahead and move on. So the way this is gonna work, like I said, I'm the only one that's seen it. I haven't processed anything, so I tried not to think about it all week. I don't remember any of them really, except for a couple. So this is kind of like free ball for me.
I say you open the first question, and then we pass it around.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's gonna go like this. I'll do one, but if it's not a I'd say like I think each of us should get like a chance to answer it. Maybe like briefer, so if it's not your turn. But because I think it's gonna help having multiple people working towards this question because some of them, like I said, are like it's theological. It's gonna be good, like really good talks. So let's go ahead and do the first one. Don't do the flashcard ones yet. Those are from our Instagram page.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, those are from our Instagram page.
Shout out you people on our Instagram. There was 2 of you.
Yes. Who
put in a question on the poll we posted. So I don't know. I think we should like, I don't know.
Should they get a free T-shirt?
No, maybe not free T-shirt, but like
we do need to do a giveaway at some point. I think we should do a giveaway.
True.
Just T-shirt, this, and then what would Jesus do bracelet or something. Yeah. All right. First question, guys. Q&A episode. Oh, this is actually a good one. I was kind of
a little nervous about this.
Later. I was hoping I wouldn't get this one either. Okay. So this is a topic that's come up in many episodes. I think Evan has actually given the best answer to this in episodes. So this is recent. But the last conversation, it was just Evan and I talking about it. So
I did not listen to this episode.
You did not? Oh,
part of it.
It's actually a great episode. You're like I have referenced your story from that one to so many people from after we've done it. Like I constantly bring it up because I think it's the best. So it's about free will. Sorry, it's about free will. How do I win an argument about free will with somebody? Ooh. And so I think I honestly like I know it's my question, but I want you to go through your story again.
Okay.
I think.
Are you talking about the Indiana Jones?
Yes, because I think it's a great. I think it's a great explanation.
Yeah. So, if you haven't watched the episode that Cole's referring to, and this is a metaphor that since then I've used many times, and just a heads up, you may hear again.
Probably.
Don't be surprised. Um, but what he's referring to is the Indiana Jones metaphor that I've used for free will. And so basically, if you've ever seen Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, Indiana and his father are searching for the Holy Grail. And so they go all over the world and they finally end up in this temple in Petra. And Indiana walks into the last temple room with the Holy Grail where it's supposed to be. And there's 100 cups on the wall. And the guardian there says, 99 of these cups are not the Holy Grail. And something really bad is going to happen to you if you pick 99 of these cups. But one of these cups is the Holy Grail. And it'll give you eternal life, it'll give you wonderful happiness, and heal you of all ailments and stuff like this. And so Indiana Jones goes through and he kind of picks randomly, right? Like he looks at everything and he sees like all this gold and these diamonds and things like that. And then he picks up this tiny little like mud daubed wood chalice, maybe more of a cup than a chalice. He picks it up and he goes, this is the cup of a carpenter, right? Because everything else is gold and jewels, and Jesus wouldn't have that. He's not like a king. He's not this rich guy. And so our free will is a little like picking the Holy Grail. And so when we look at our free will, right, we're given a choice, a free choice, right? We're given the free decision to choose whatever we want, 100 cups. However, we are not inhibited by the rules we are given. Therefore, our goodness. So say the church says, or Christ says, or anybody says, right, these, not anybody, people we trust, people, things we know and believe, these 50 cups are going to kill you, right? Like a cup with a red gemstone is going to kill you. Okay, well, I can factor out those 50 cups, and that's my goodness, right? The other 50, we can begin to choose from those. Well, another rule cues out another 25, right? And so on until eventually we have this chalice. And so I kind of think of free will as working as this, in tandem with the teachings of the church. The teachings of the church don't inhibit our free will, but rather they're aligned for the goodness of our souls. We still have that choice. Nobody's going to stop you from committing sin. Nobody's going to stop you from like murder or whatever, right? But we're given these rules and these alignments to tell us that those things that we choose to do are wrong, and are not at the end of time going to be good for our soul.
Yeah, I like really love that metaphor, and like I said, I've used it so many times. I believe I've even talked to you about it. I recently actually.
I know.
Probably doesn't remember. I talk a lot to Nazario, and he tends to get to the point where he kind of tones me out for a little bit, but that's okay. But yeah, no, I think it's a great metaphor. And then I also hear this. I also hear this sometimes. Well, like, why does the church have the right to tell you that you sinned, right? And so, I like to think about it this way. The church helps explain to us what the morality is of our faith, right? And the church helps explain that. So if you think about it this way, whether the church had said it or whether the church had not said it to begin with, whether, like, if there was church teaching was completely taken out, this is still the morality that is in place. The church isn't changing anything. This is what the Catholic faith is, right? And so us choosing the wrong cup, the church is telling us it's a sin, but even if the church didn't make any teachings to begin with, that sin is still its sin, right? And so we can argue all along that the church is restricting us. Actually, it's telling us the truth about our faith. And that's what makes it so special and so beautiful, is it's not a restriction. It actually, in itself, is a progression of our free will. I think it's lifting our free will up and giving us the freedom to make and helping guide us to make the right and proper decisions to get to God, which I think is more of a gift in and of itself.
Yeah, and the question, how do I win an argument against free will? I'm just trying to think of what someone would make as an argument against free will to try to actually rationalize this. And I'm really struggling to actually think of something, except for the fact that maybe someone could be like, well, actually, you think you're making this decision, you think it's free will, but it's really like you're in this whole like matrix type thing where every decision's already like laid out and stuff. Yeah, but that's really all I can think of to try to help us answer exactly, how do we win an argument? Because say we're having an argument against someone that's not Christian. They're just wondering, like, just a philosophical, like, what is free will? Why
Do
do
we
you
make
think it's free
decisions?
will?
Yeah, so is it
Yeah.
like talking about, are you talking about like if it's talking about predestination?
Yeah.
Is it
Well, not so
essentially?
much
No,
predestination, but like,
yeah, not predestination,
are
just
we
like in
in
general.
a
Like,
simulation?
do we,
Yeah.
do we
Okay.
actually have the free will to make these
Yeah.
decisions, or have they already been set out and we're just following a path? And I mean, personally, I would just simply say, like, in life, you just kind of go through. I feel like I make every decision. Now, what you guys talked about, of course, we want to align it with church, align it with Christ's teaching, so that gives us, we know what to choose, but I still think that we are making that decision, but I don't really know how to break it down into a more complex, like
Yeah.
if someone was trying to battle that.
You know, a lot of the time I hear people talking about God's will. You know, God's will, God's will, God's will. And, you know, I always am like, I get what you're saying, but more the way there was a priest that gave a homily a while back, and he referenced this. And it's like we all have our own lives. We're all making our decisions, right? And in like some people will be like, if it's God's will, it will happen. I think the direction it's taking is if God allows things to happen. He's not like, our life is our choices, and God's allowing us to make our choices. You know, and while our will is still our will, God is allowing it. He's allowing us to do it, and that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, so to finalize the answer to this question off of what Cole said, I would say someone may think when they look at the Christian faith and the Christian God, that they may think that God is making every decision and that we don't have any like power or control. And that is the opposite. As what Cole said, God is a God of allowing people to make decisions. He wants us to make a choice. He didn't create us to be robots. He created us especially to be human beings that have free will, to be able to choose love. And that's how I think we should answer that question. So,
Final thought is also, I always come back to, if God is controlling our lives completely, you know, like, why would we sin?
Yeah. Fair.
Okay.
Next question, guys. That's a good one. I like that one. That was a fun one to talk about.
Is it okay to hope that this is fast? Is it okay to hope that God will save all people on earth, even those who don't believe? Yes.
Yes, I think it's a pretty general question too.
let me read it back one more time,
Go
just
for
to
it.
maybe give a little bit of
Yeah.
a longer answer.
No, yeah.
Is it okay to hope that God will save all people on earth, even those who don't believe? And what I would say is God's purpose, God's plan, obviously God's plan is going to work out. But if God's plan saying that our free will wasn't to go towards sin, God will obviously save everyone. And what Jesus did on the cross does save everyone if those people, going back to free will, make that free will decision to trust in Jesus' sacrifice. God is all powerful, and what he did is all, what is the right word there? All possible of salvation for everyone if they so choose.
You know, it goes back to our conversation where we had talked about, you know, again, it goes back to the humility conversation. Not in the sense that, not in the realization of personhood, but more of just that, you know, we're all still brothers and sisters in Christ. And so we should want for our brothers and sisters in Christ to get to heaven. Doesn't matter what faith they are. We should hope that they do, because like they're still people and we want them to be saved. So yeah, I think in general, yes is a really just simple answer for that question.
Yeah, and then always pray for them as well.
Yeah.
And if you really hope, like, try to help them. And
You
that's
can
the way that
always
you can
hope.
help them.
Yeah, you can always hope.
Final thoughts from you?
No.
Okay, cool.
All good.
On to number 3. I pulled the beans one.
Okay.
All it says is beans. So if you were the one to do that, there's your question.
You know, I'm actually going to shout out that person because
I think I know who that is.
It's John.
It was John?
Yeah. So John,
Is it an acronym? Does beans mean
No,
something?
no.
Just beans, guys.
He was like, "There's candy on the counter." I was like, "Yeah, you know why the candy's there?" And he went, "No." I said, "You're supposed to write a question for the podcast." He went, "Oh."
Yeah, so
So
it kept getting
means-
like covered. Like I would put the paper out, and then somehow all the flashcards would end up right back on the paper that says what you're supposed to do. And so I kept moving it all day. But we got a good bit of questions. So
Do you get to go now, or do I get to open
Yeah, you pulled beans,
yeah,
man.
you pulled beans.
Okay.
Beans.
I was it was coming around at some
All right.
point. Sorry.
Stuff.
All right. Okay. This one's a little harder. I'm gonna want some support on this one, by the way. Okay, what is something about another religion you would bring into practicing Christianity? Method of prayer, attitude, point of emphasis, and then in the bottom, in asterisk, it says, in a non-heretical sense. For me,
That's a good question.
it's a great question. I love it. So like I said recently, I've been really involved with Spirit of Truth, praise and worship. I love it. And I think in a sense, in Catholicism, I feel like it's not like as common praise and worship, and this more just get a group of people together and just like sort of thing. And so I guess it's not like a religious teaching, or I'm not adding anything from another thing like faith in general, but I think talking to some of my Baptist friends, some of my Methodist friends, and this, I think they have a lot of that, and so I would love having that ability and to like get more involved with that. And then another one I would say really quickly is a very good point. I was talking to some of my guys in discipleship last week, and not going to name names or anything, but he had mentioned that some of his friends were talking to him, and they had said something along the lines of, Catholics are really bad spontaneous prayers. And I was like, I get where you're going with that. Sometimes we get very lost in the structure and kind of forget our personal relationship with Jesus in general. So something I would include in Catholicism, and I wouldn't say like it's a general Catholicism definitely isn't discouraging either of these things. But something I wish I would do more myself is this spontaneous prayer and being able to just be like, Dear Heavenly Father, like, thank you for today. Help guide my heart, and just not this structured prayer. So that's my answer.
Which is, and I will caveat, that's not really an addition to our faith,
Yeah.
but something you
Yeah.
wish you could do better. Yeah. Do you want to go first?
I'm struggling to think of anything crazy, but I thought of one that wouldn't actually work, but it was pretty cool. And it's people, Protestants or just non-Catholics, when they baptize people, they're usually not babies, so they're able to dunk when they baptize, and I was like, that is super cool. But most Catholics couldn't do that, because if you
they're
try to
big.
put an infant into a
they're gonna be
dunkable baptism, that probably wouldn't work. But if
laughing back there.
she should be.
Yeah.
But if people that are converted later to Catholicism, I think the dump would be super cool. I think
dump.
it's just the dump. You just dump them into
Yeah.
a big pool. Actually, I had friends in high school who were all baptized around the age of 12 because they are adopted from Asia. So they came over and then their parents baptized them, and they were all dunked. And the priest that did this, he did all three of these brothers, and he says it's one of the coolest experiences he's ever had, because you just don't see it a lot, because you don't dunk babies.
I've got one when you're done that you can come back to me, and I'll, because I think I need a better answer.
He gets 3?
That's
No, you
his
get
question,
1.
I guess.
Get one what?
You get 1. You have another.
He can do it.
Well, the other two,
Yeah.
like you had said,
That's
not
fair.
really.
That's
And
fair.
so this one is one.
So we'll sit back at my parish at home. We have a walk-in baptismal font, and so like when we do Easter Vigil, people get like stand in the font and like he dumps it on their head, which
cool.
is a super cool experience. If I had to add something, y'all both stayed in the vein of Christianity, so I'm gonna go a little bit out. But I would add what?
I'm going out too. So
I would add Islam, the 5 prayer times a day. And I think as Catholics, right, we have the Liturgy of the Hours, but it's very, like, it's kind of like a niche devotion almost. Like, it's something that religious pray, it's something that priests pray, and those, like, very devoted. But I think that as Catholics, if we chose to have, like, 5 times a day where we devote ourselves to prayer for, 10 minutes, like, that would change the lives drastically of the entire population. Yeah, because like even we talk about, right, like 20 minutes of prayer a day, 5 minutes of prayer a day can change your life. So imagine like, yeah, I have to sit down 5 times a day to pray for just 10 minutes. Like that's nearly an hour of prayer a day. So yeah.
So it's actually really similar. Referencing Islam again, the prayer times are actually like, I think it's so neat that like everybody stops and will literally just do their prayers. And so I think what would be really cool to add to Catholicism is, we have the Holy Hour 3:00, and we're supposed to pray the chaplet then.
Yeah.
And I think if that became more of like just a everybody does sort of thing, I think it would be so beautiful and so unique. And it would be a lot of, I feel like we would get a lot of grace from that as a whole. And so that would be something that I would want to add, because I love the Chaplet of Divine Mercy. And sometimes I get discouraged that it's very often just prayed during Lent. And so I think it should be prayed, all year round. So, all right, Evan, going in. There's a couple just joke ones. Is that one of them?
Wow. Okay. How do you find a godly woman or man?
There's a good one.
Asking for a friend.
That was the question she said.
Okay. So good Valentine's Day one, right? So
Yeah.
shout out Saint Valentine. Also shout out Saints Cyril and Methodius. Slavic missionaries to the Slavs way back in the 9th century.
Do you want to repeat it one more time just so that
Yeah.
I heard it again?
How do you find a godly woman or man? Our lives attract those things that we are pursuing, is I think the basic answer to this, right? So pursuing God is going to lead us to a relationship with God, and pursuing things that are godly are going to draw people and events and things in that are of God, right? We have this gravitational pull. God has this gravitational pull that when his spirit is full in a person, people can tell. And they say like, hey, there is something different about this person. But I think a basic answer for college students is don't look in the wrong places. It's easy to, people meet out at the bars, people meet out at parties, people meet out at, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm not saying, right, you're never going to find a godly man or godly woman there. I'm legally 21, so caveat, but I go out to the bar.
We were at the bar last night for a singo.
For singo, right? Not drinking.
No drinks
of course,
from us.
But yeah. But not saying those things are bad in measure, in good prudence, right? But when you go out to those places and when you do those things, it attracts a certain type of crowd, right? Mm-hmm. So be mindful of where you're looking, right? You're not going to find a gemstone in the mud, however many metaphors there are about that, right? You're not just going to walk out your front door and be like, "Ooh, look, like a 15-karat diamond. That's pretty cool," right? And the second thing I would say is like, if you're trying to find a godly man or woman, you have to yourself be refined or actively striving for better purpose. Especially for, we're all guys, so this comes easy, but especially for women, women are so much better than us. As a rule, if you find a godly woman, that's just such a good thing to cherish and to hold. And that is a responsibility and a duty that God gives you. And so part two to all of this, practicality, look where you're examine where you're looking, but also is your life reflective of something that someone who is godly would want to be in companionship with?
Yeah, and I think you can say something. Yeah, you got it.
So I was gonna say, just to piggyback off of Evan, I actually, when it comes to this sort of thing, I actually really don't like the word find. I am of the opinion, I totally agree with what you're saying. I think if the person you want, first things first, make sure you're in a good state with God, right? Build your life up, get yourself better, and,
you can talk about that from experience.
Yeah, get yourself better, build yourself up.
Recently, and when we came back this semester, Cole, I've never seen him more focused on himself and just making himself better. And you can talk about that real quick. What that was awesome.
Yeah. So over winter break, I had a breakup, so I went through that, the struggle with that, and then I came back. I texted Nazario and I said, "This is going to be an awesome year." I said, "We're gonna hit it strong. We're gonna hit it hard." And so every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Sunday or Saturday, we're working out, hitting the gym. And then, Nazario has been really, really good. And it's inspired me over the last year about daily mass, and I really struggled with it. I didn't get there, not about the concept of daily mass in general, but just going, and I would never make time or anything, and so I've been able to go to that, and it's felt really good, and you don't always expect a feeling or need a feeling. Sometimes you just need to be, and so that's been really great for me. And so I'll talk to people about it, and they'll ask me these questions about how to find a godly woman, a godly man, and yada yada yada. And like I said, the first thing I would say to them is, I don't think you need to find. I don't think you need to look. What I think you need to do is, if you focus on building yourself up and you put yourself, like you said, in the right places, right? As long as you're putting yourself in these situations surrounded by, that's why I always say your closest friends should be the ones that are helping you grow in your faith. If you surround yourself with these people, eventually someone's gonna come up in there. And it's going to be there will be a godly woman in your life. It will happen, because you're just going to all these things, and godly women are going to want to come to some of these things too. Daily mass, spirit and truth, this. That's how it works. And so going back to the thing, you're not, like you said, you're not a diamond in the rough. It exists, but your chances are a lot lower. So be aware of your surroundings.
A very practical example, Evan. You didn't meet your girlfriend at Search, right? But you guys got closer from Search, right?
Yeah. How did that work?
Yeah. So I had met Caroline before Search, but Search Retreat was big for me for forming my life and really figuring out what I needed to do. Like I said, practical applications. If I want to date a person who their relationship with God is the central part of their life, then that has to be something that I truly believe as well. And so yeah, I think this, not exactly finding them in the place of faith, but akin, right? And I will also say, Caroline and I were introduced by a very good Ella Evans, who's a very good friend, and goes to church with us, and a wonderful soul and a very close relationship with Christ. And so, like you're saying, oftentimes you don't even, you still have to do the work. Let's just be clear. You still have to do the work, but oftentimes it just walks up on you.
Yeah, so 100%. You got to focus on yourself. You've got to be the godly person that you are also trying to find. If you're trying to find a godly person, you have to be first a godly person to be found as well. And Caitlin likes to say this a lot. But it's an Instagram picture of these two people on paths, and at the end of the path is Jesus. And so the closer you get to Jesus, the closer you get to each other.
Yeah.
And that's true. That's true for any relationship in our lives.
It's a great metaphor, Caitlin.
Two things that I know I gotta say is, one, if you're ever questioning whether you should go out with someone, or if you're dating someone and whether you should continue the relationship, number one is, does that person make you a better person? You especially as a man, if that person does not either call you specifically by saying things to make you better, or at least you want to be better for them. If that doesn't happen in your relationship and you're not doing things, I'm not pushing down on the table, if that's why you're looking at my hand. Sorry. You gotta let me use my hands. But
you can use them.
if the person is not making you a better person in some form or fashion, then you definitely, I'm not saying you should eliminate the relationship automatically, but there's something that's got to happen there, because we should always be striving to be better together. And then second thing, which I'm a big proponent of, is you can't just sit there and expect it to flip and happen. You've got to do things, especially as a man. You can't sit there and be like, oh, she's gonna ask me out, or God's just gonna place her into my life. God can place her as much into your life, but you still gotta go and do something. And so if I'm not gonna say that on what I would say to Cole right now, but you gotta have the courage to be able to go and make a move. And you gotta be able to make a move, and you might miss sometimes. My favorite line is Michael Jordan's best line: "You miss every shot you don't take." You gotta have the courage to take the shots, and maybe it's just one date, and you go to learn about somebody, and that woman doesn't turn into your wife, but at least you get the experience of going on a date, getting to know them in some form or fashion. You got to be able to do it. You got to be able to go out there, and you got to be able to take shots.
So last thing, and then we'll move on. In the interest of Valentine's Day, in the interest of, whatever, right? Because we're recording this on Friday, so we can, it'll be whatever, Sunday or Monday before y'all hear this. If Cole gets hands on it, it'll be Thursday. But a few things, right? Like Nazario said, actively pursue, but also be clear. Caitlin, this is something girls talk about a lot. So, but like clarity is kindness. Like that's I don't know. Caroline always says like, oh, when we do our women's Bible study, they're like clear is kind. So clearly communicate and say like, hey, I want to take you out on a date at this place at this time, and like, don't be let's hang out, like let's go do something, right? It's a first date. If you really care about this person, be formal, be intentional about your time and about your relationship.
Last thing I'll say before we move on. So yes, be clear not only with plans, but be clear about what your goal is for the relationship and your goals for your life.
Yes.
Let her know or let him know that the number one thing in your life is God and pursuing God and getting to heaven. And that's what you want from a relationship. And if you set those parameters from the beginning, they're going to know that. And they either can say, oh, that's not what I want, I'm going to leave. That can help you because okay, that person really wasn't going to help me. Or they say, yeah, that's exactly what I want. And then we're off and rolling. So,
yeah, and we're not like dating show specialists or anything.
Well,
we're just we're
I
three
feel like we
Catholic
could have a
guys.
dating show,
we
right?
could have a dating
It'd be
show.
pretty
It'd be fun.
It would be
but-
like I don't even know. It would be like what's that one? Dear Abby, is that the column that John Prine writes about where it's like the love column and people read it's Dear Abby. It's a song by John Prine, but it's like a columnist in a newspaper and people write in and ask for marriage advice and stuff like that.
Interesting.
So yeah, real quick, just and I'm not like explaining anything. I'm just saying when I was saying I don't like the word find, I wasn't trying to discourage men from making the first move. Like when she's placed into your life, like you better make the first move. Like it needs to happen. So yeah, Nazario,
Let's see if I get a real question, guys.
There's a couple joke questions that he's gonna have to know in his
Please don't
luck.
be a good. Why are you Catholic? Ooh, this is
I was excited for
pretty
this one, actually. I
solid.
was
Pretty
excited for
solid.
this
Why
one.
are you
I want to go
Catholic?
that's further than because I'm baptized.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, everybody. I think we should.
Well, I grew up. We all grew up Catholic family, and
Cradle
you
Catholics.
guys were infant baptisms as well.
Yes.
Yeah. So all cradle Catholics. And for me, the absolute center, and the Catechism says this is the center of our faith anyways, but the absolute center for me is the Eucharist. Anytime that I've ever questioned anything about Catholicism, any teaching, anything like that, I always come back to Catholicism still has the Eucharist. And that is by far the best thing that could ever be given to any of us because it is Christ in the flesh. And so anything else that I got to work through, I'm working through it because at the end of the day, I need the Eucharist more than anything. And so that is the simple answer, and it could probably just solve any problem. Like, I don't even know if I really need to go into it because it solved everything for me. And anytime that, as I said, anytime I've ever questioned anything about Catholicism, I go back to the Eucharist, whether it's, I can go to adoration to pray about it, I can just think about, I need the Eucharist, and then I go and I learn more about those things. I don't just brush them off and say, oh, it doesn't matter, like this. I try to learn about them. I try to figure out, like, okay, what do Catholicism really teach about this? Able to go into Scripture and find where it comes from, because as we've talked about close, Catholicism is the union of Scripture and tradition. It is both of them. And so a lot of what?
No.
Nothing?
No, you'll see.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's what you're going to say? That's what you're going to say? I stole what he was going to say.
It's okay.
But yes, so you go back, find where from Scripture and the traditions, and it all works together so beautifully, but it all comes back to the Eucharist, which is found in Scripture and is passed down through tradition. So
Keep your conversation on scripture and tradition short.
Yeah.
Because we could be here for a day.
Yeah, so as Nazario mentioned, obviously my first step in explaining anything about Catholicism to anybody is it's the Eucharist, right? I think it would be, in a sense, kind of disrespectful not to talk about it. But yeah, source and summit of our faith, 100%. I'm not going to go into it anymore because you got it. But yeah, Scripture and tradition is my favorite thing to talk about with people. I love the fact that the church is founded on it because there's so much. Like, it never ends. It's as long, however long you want to go, there is so much stuff to read from. You have saints' writings, you have the church's writings, you have all of these different other people's writings that are just theologians. And it's really, really awesome just to go through that. And then if we go on to the tradition side, like, the Catholic Mass is so beautiful, right? The tradition of the thurible and incense at Mass is beautiful. The tradition of redoing the Last Supper at every single Mass is beautiful. The tradition of kneeling and genuflecting It is such a beautiful experience. And so to even be present in that sort of situation really is what makes Catholicism, to me, so beautiful and an attractive faith to me. You know, all the rules and all the regulations, like that doesn't like, sure, that may hinder what my human mind is going to want, but my faith mind and the mind that I want to strive towards to get to heaven, it is a blessing and it's a gift. And I love Catholicism for it.
Help me out right here. He said redoing the Last Supper.
I was
How
gonna-
can we
sorry,
redefine?
sorry.
No, you're good.
My
You're
bad.
good.
My
Just
bad.
want to redefine it
Correct me.
for
yeah.
for our audience.
Not so much redoing as
It is a memorial.
Yeah,
Obviously,
yeah,
it is
yeah.
in memory.
Yeah.
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
making present the Last Supper once again.
We'll drop a catechism explanation in the comments.
'Cause
just to
redoing-
clarify that. Yeah.
We're just helping Cole out.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, sometimes
No,
you
fair,
think, but
fair.
not
I don't know what the right
word.
word is
Yeah.
for it.
Yeah.
Because obviously the Last Supper was once and for all, and we are just simply trying to remember the incredible blessing
Yes.
of it.
Yes.
Yes.
God's mercy. Short answer. I won't extrapolate because
Yeah, he's got to talk on it.
So,
He'll tell you.
yeah.
this
He's
shit.
plugging his
Yeah,
talk right now.
I am plugging the talk, which is funny because I'm plugging the talk on a advertisement that's gonna air after my talk. So yeah, God's mercy.
Okay.
Short.
Cool. Do I get shit?
Oh, that's right. I thought you got a beans again.
So I say we make one more round.
Okay.
Yeah, that works. That works.
We're at 41 minutes,
Yeah,
so
good.
longer
We can
episode.
make one
Are we
more?
good for?
Yeah.
Okay. We'll probably have a couple of the fun ones in there, so those will be quick. No, these are fun, but you know, like
Did you want to open one of the
Like
flashcard ones? Didn't you want to do that?
you can do a flashcard one.
Oh,
Well, do you wanna?
good night. What is it like?
Do you want to do a flashcard one or not?
Do you want me to
Believe
do
in the
it?
catechism?
You can.
What are we gonna do next?
Let's do it. If we're gonna do the flashcard one, let's finish on that and do it as a whole. Which one? Who wants to sacrifice their draw?
I'll do it. I'll do flashcard last.
Okay.
We'll do it last.
It's a good closer for us. Well, the
Both
one
of them, or
we need to just do the one.
okay.
Yeah. All right. Cool.
He doesn't know any of the questions, so don't worry.
Well, that was on the pod Instagram. Oh shoot, is that it?
Which one?
That-
This one or the other
Have we
one?
done that one? Okay,
This one or the other one?
the other one.
All right. Wonderful.
This is a fun one to talk about. All right. Oh, all right. This is actually gonna be y'all's question. And
Y'all's question.
so because it's y'all have more knowledge about it, so I'm gonna let. I feel like you've
we
done
can
it
do this
more
one, yeah.
recently.
Is this
That's
you?
Or have you done it more recently?
I don't know.
I'll read it,
He
and then
hasn't read the
y'all can
question
go
yet, so
because
I
I
have
don't
no
want to.
idea.
I don't want to. I don't know. So, what is the evidence behind novena promises? Y'all are more
Novena.
knowledgeable.
Oh, good lord. Oh.
Wow, that's a question. Wow, that is a question.
Because I'm not well versed.
Okay.
I hope
what-
Evan is.
What is the evidence behind novena
I know
promises?
y'all know
okay.
more than me.
So novena promises are the theory that you're gonna attain things, mercy and graces after completing a novena. And so this is not a specific to novena thing. This is kind of a what's it called, like a dedication or any type of thing you go through, right? So we do this for indulgences, right, where we have a set of like go to confession, go to mass, receive the Eucharist, and then like there's usually some sort of
visit a cemetery.
Yeah.
And pray.
yeah. So for like All Souls Day, it's spend 15 minutes or pray a rosary in the cemetery or something like that, right? And we receive an indulgence that either applies to our life or we can use as an intercessory indulgence for those currently in purgatory. But these are similar to novena promises, right? It's just because I'm blanking on the word. What is that? It's like it's just like a reward that we receive for our diligence in this operation.
And the evidence that I would say is for a good amount of them, not all of them, I know that, but Mary, is appeared the right word? Presented herself?
Oh no, there is a word.
Apparated?
She,
Yeah.
there's people that
there's a word.
saw Mary,
There's an
A Marian apparition.
yeah,
yes, there
and
is.
Mary told them through
Yeah.
these visions or for a
Apparitions.
good amount of these. I don't think it's all of them, correct? For all of
Most
them?
of the Marian apparitions have some sort of prayer
Yeah.
with them. Lourdes definitely does.
Guadalupe does, I think.
Guadalupe does. Because our family actually does it's the Pilgrim Queen of Juan Diego. It's a 3-day system.
Yeah, Mary appeared to some people, and she would tell them you need to pray this,
Yeah.
and God will give you this. And I think another, some people that might be more turned off to this because Mary appearing, like what do they think about that? It's just another.
Devotion. That's what I'm thinking of.
You think of devotion?
Yeah.
It's another. Just another opportunity for God to work through people. God has worked through people through the entirety of existence, and He's worked through Mary in a special way throughout history. And yeah, He's just doing this again. It's another miracle that He's working through people.
And remember, we are called to schmooze the Blessed Mother in Nazara's words. So
To schmooze the Blessed
schmooze.
Mother.
You need to
Yeah,
go back and watch
listen
that.
to that.
You need to let
podcast.
us know.
No,
Yeah.
it was a fun one.
It makes a lot of
the visual,
sense, yeah.
its quality is terrible, but the audio is good. So
Yeah. So yeah, last thought on that is just it's like any other intercessory prayer. Like right when we do a novena to novena of X saint, Y saint, whatever. Right. It's just a type of intercessory prayer. I think the important thing to remember is the evidence is not like that saint is giving us mercy. That saint is not giving us whatever, right? Yeah. But we're praying the novena as an intercessory means so that saint can bring our prayers to the feet of Christ, and then through that attainment we garner and we can receive God's grace and God's mercy, not from the saint but from God Himself.
Yes, God working through other people, and He just continues to do that. Didn't you pull this one out though?
Yeah.
Then put it back in.
Okay. Well, I mean, it's me and you. Let's see.
Okay.
I feel like when.
What if you get the funny question?
When Dumbledore
I'm remembering these as they're getting
Dumbledore
read.
from
I just
Goblet of
forget.
Fire.
Did you get a fun one?
uh,
It is. Yes, it's a fun one. Ha! And they had to come out eventually. He got beans, so.
what is your mile PR / could I beat you in a race?
So we have a fast time. We have a just a long distance. And we have a sprint. Is I guess what they're asking.
Yeah.
for.
I would be the sprinter of the group because I have no stamina.
Could you outpace both of us?
So I was gonna say
Stamina wise?
No, speed wise.
Speed
Are you
wise?
faster than us?
I
believe in
sprinted in high
myself,
school.
yeah. I mean, I don't know about him. I think I could beat you to sprint.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I have a nice.
I got
I'm-
a lot quicker.
I'm a
I
sprint.
don't know if
I'm a
you're that-
sprinter.
I don't know if you're faster than me either.
I don't know.
We need to.
We don't
test
know
this
who's
theory.
fast of all
Okay,
of us.
when
but-
I'm held
okay,
up,
endurance
come
is
back
cold.
with us.
Hold on.
No, let's do it.
So
Come back.
mile PR mine is not very good. It's probably like I don't know. I probably could run like a 6:30 mile in high school when I was doing soccer. Now my peak mile.
I have
PR
no
is
stamina. It's probably like an 8 minute.
I have my time.
He
High
knows it
school,
exactly.
His is like
Yeah.
5:15, I think.
It's so in high school during my mile. So I don't have. We very rarely in cross country just ran a mile.
Mhm.
So my fastest mile time is in a 5K. It was the first mile of the 5K, and it literally was every single race I ran this time, and I don't know why, but it never changed, and it was the oddest thing ever. But a 5:13 is what I ran in high school for my first mile. So I do think if I ran like a single mile, maybe at my peak of my fitness, I could have broken 5. I felt pretty comfortable in the 5K. But so yeah, if you can beat that time, you got me. In sprints, I started out as the slowest person in my class and slowly made my way up to like the second fastest person. So I've gotten faster, but I don't.
Elementary.
My thing is, y'all two are gonna beat me off the gun. Y'all have a lot better bursts than I do, especially you. And then I know you with getting up from like playing baseball and having to get up and play quick from being a catcher is gonna help well too. So I think y'all would get the jump on me on the start on a sprint. I think my acceleration is where I have a benefit, but I don't know. We'll see.
I will say though, after I had ankle surgery, I have not been able to sprint as well. Like
Really?
my off the line speed has been horrible.
Getting off is not the best, but like I have to get going, but like not long distance.
Yeah, once he's like a train. Once he gets going, nobody's
I'd
stopping.
probably pull something going for the starting line. So
You would. Your injury prognosis is.
yeah, I'm injured right now. That's my. Oh, so he was telling me during mass the other day. He just thought of it. He was like, "Dude, you're praying through suffering," and I was like, "Yep." So funny enough. All right.
Last question.
And
To
this is
go
gonna be a
from
second.
a talk about
Okay.
running to this is quite wild, to be honest, because this is a tough question.
Yes,
Um,
it is.
I will start. It's unfortunate. I really need to go to the bathroom. It's a terrible timing, but we're gonna do it anyways.
Well, we gotta keep this under.
We got
10 minutes.
We got
Should
13
we hold
minutes.
an open next episode with it?
No, I think it's a great way to end it.
Yeah, I think
Well-
that's a good way to end it. We can't
No.
end on asking.
Well, we
about
have.
mine.
I mean, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. How many do we go through?
A couple.
I hope
same
people
amount. Yeah. Let's do
listen
it.
to the end because this
Well,
will
what I'll do is
probably be the best
YouTube
fifth.
gives me an option to break episodes up into segments,
Mhm.
and so I'll put question.
Oh,
I'll put like
you could.
how to do this,
That'd be
Yeah.
pretty
this,
cool.
this,
Yeah.
this, and then
I
you
will
hear
not be able to
just
do
go.
it, but
So
Read
people
it
will
all.
see the
alrighty, ladies
questions.
and gentlemen, our final question is how to handle lust. And first off, interesting is lust could be. You could have lust for a lot of different things.
can.
You definitely can.
I think
But-
there is a certain pertainment towards this
Yes,
question.
this is. We're going to talk about.
This is towards the
sexual
male
lust.
audience. And
Yes, it's
Well,
towards.
no, both.
Well, it could be towards both, but more likely, males seem to struggle with this more than usual. Obviously, we are only males, so we've only heard from males, so we can only really see this
It's-
from a male viewpoint.
It's asked for the male audience.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But I think I can say because we're all males, that we have all dealt with this in some form or fashion. And so I think this is going to be a great conversation because we have can talk about how we've worked through this. Luckily for me, I have dove really deep into theology of the body and Christopher West to really learn about this. And if you've ever read this, I am not going to be, what is the right word? I'm not going to be degrading him to say this, but he will talk about anything that has happened in his past. Like he has gone through some pretty tough times with that and had a lot of lustful experiences, so he can really talk to it and he knows how to get to the core of it. And I was having a conversation with someone the other day about this. And what is the opposite of love? Because we're striving for love. What is the opposite of love?
Use.
Yes, use.
There you
Well,
go.
lust, which is
Yeah.
use.
There you
It's not hate. The opposite of love is not hate. It is use. It is lust. And that is at the core of it, and that is what we need to focus on for my part of it. And so when you are lusting, you are thinking about using the other person, and you are objectifying them. So it goes back to humility, what I talked about humility. If you're objectifying somebody and you're using them, you are not seeing them as a person. You are seeing them as just a means to an end. And this is at the core of all of it. And this is why the devil has tried to basically desensitize us into not thinking about the personhood of everyone. We just see, this, what's the right word? This cleavage that we see on a movie, or we see out in public, we see the clothing that people wear. And it's just like, it's not a person. It's just like you see a body there. And so at the core of it is recognizing the personhood of someone. And then how do you go further into it as you realize, okay, this person deserves utmost respect, utmost love. And one thing to add on to that, utmost respect, utmost love, in spite of their decisions. We go to the University of Alabama. There's a lot of people that don't make great decisions with their clothing, as we talked about. That does not mean that they do not deserve utmost respect, utmost dignity. And that does not give us any reason to do anything to do with lust towards these people. So the journey from lust to love involves a daily sacrifice. You have to be literally thinking about this all the time. Not thinking about lust, but thinking about your battle with it. And because one moment the devil will seep into you and will throw you down a cave, and you have to get all the way back up the valley. But it's a constant prayer, and that, I think, is why my prayer life is more spontaneous than you say. It's a little bit more of a struggle for you. But because of having to work through this is where daily prayer comes in from. Every single day when you're going out there, you can have thoughts pop in your head. You can have images pop in your head. You can have whatever it may be. But if you're constantly in that daily prayer of bringing it right to God and praying through it, that is how he works. Because the only way we get through it is by God's grace, mercy, and love. Because we as humans, we don't know how to love right. Because we're not God.
Yeah.
God, who is love, knows how to love right. And he teaches us how to love. So constantly, we have to be able to pray. So I think daily prayer, number one, constant daily prayer when they're in the midst of this. And don't leave God out of any of it. If you have an image pop in your head, you give it to God. God already knows it. If you have certain thought pop in your head, you give it to God. And you just say, God, I give you this. I give you this thought. Please help me turn my lust into love. Please untwist my heart. That's what Christopher West talks about all the time. Untwist it. And I'll end with this. Before the fall, they were naked without shame, and all of their love was outgoing. And the other person could look at the other person and see that outgoing love, and that is why they were able to not have shame. The instant the fall happened is when everything turned from outgoing to inward. It's all inward. And that is our journey of going back to the fall. The way that we are able to be naked without shame and the way that we are able to remove our lust is to be outgoing with our love and to untwist all the twisted upness of the fall and all the twistedness that the devil has done. So, the final prayer that I will say is just ask God to continually untwist your twistedness.
So, it's kind of funny that you mentioned outgoing anyway, because that was one of the readings in Sunday Mass, actually. It was involved in it. Was it not Sunday?
Yesterday. Yesterday's daily reading was from Genesis.
Yes. So it was talking about it then, and so that's funny that just happened. But yeah, that's a really great general breakdown of love and lust. So you went on the general breakdown, you got it covered, you covered everything. I'm going to talk about the practicals, right? I want to talk about ways to combat this. You were seeming to lean on the relationship side of it kind of more. And so I kind of want to lean more towards just personal. So, ways to counter, as guys, like it's hard. It's hard. We are born with testosterone. Life is it's going to make us difficult.
And as Evan would say, as a biology major, our biological bodies don't really help us out a lot, as you talked about.
Yes. And so, like the first things first, having a solid group of friends that you can chat with about these things and help you through temptation is phenomenal. Like there are countless conversations the three of us have had to help lift each other up in situations like this. And it is it's such a blessing. It makes things so much easier having people to keep you accountable, keep you responsible, and help you grow. So that's a good first step. Other things I'd say, good practicals when you do feel the temptation. Obviously, prayer first. Like you said, I think that's a great way to start. Secondly, advice I always get from people and what I always hear from talks and this is physical workouts, physical things, physical activities are going to alter what your mind desires in that instance. So going on a run, great, immediately. It is going to kind of change that mindset for you because it gets you in a different state, right? You're focusing more on kind of like the pain of what you're doing. Secondly, working out, playing soccer, anything physical is going to help.
And technically, working out, moving your body, doing all those things helps your body with testosterone so that your testosterone just isn't used. Is that the right way?
Yeah.
It's not used
it just releases testosterone.
It releases
right?
it. Okay. Yeah.
And then I'd also say community is great. So being around other people, not putting yourself in situations where you're by yourself all the time, and kind of just being around other people is just good in general. It's not healthy to be by yourself. You don't want dwelling in your own thoughts is a very dangerous thing.
One thing, final and practical, because you talked about things, and if you're not feeling like going on a run or working out or going playing soccer, you guys are probably gonna laugh when I say this, but how many words is this? 4 technical words of a practical thing. Keep your hands up. We talked about in discipleship. Just keep your hands up. Keep your hands up. Keep them away from where they don't need to be, to say the least.
So first thing would be, this is my rosary bag. Just bring everything to your Blessed Mother. However embarrassing it is to talk about this with your earthly mother, right? Your Blessed Mother is never gonna she's never gonna stop loving you. And also she's the perfect model of womanhood, the perfect model of chastity and of charity and of love for the heart. Secondly, find someone that means more than you do to yourself. Whether that's a person, whether that's Christ, whether that's Mary, whether that's whatever. Find someone or something that, relationship with Christ being that thing that is worth more to you than yourself.
That's a good answer. All right, so that's the last question. Well, for today, it seems, as we predicted, that we talk a lot, and there is about 50% of the questions left. So we're gonna do a part 2 next week, and don't worry, we'll get back to our quotes. It just won't be next week.
Part two, I say we take a month to go back to quotes to come back to part two of the mailbag. And
You say
Drag it.
hold?
Yeah.
I will say
We'll
there
debate.
are
talk
a lot
about
of people that have been asking about it and are excited to hear their questions answered. So
that's gonna drag them, make them wait, make them watch more
We'll
episodes.
debate.
we'll talk about it. We'll talk.
I think
We're
I
just gonna
personally
tease
think
it
it's
out. Next
better,
week
better
could be
marketing.
the mailbag episode.
yeah,
Could
could
be.
be the mailbag episode. So Evan opened it. You know, it was his first time. It's exciting. We're all
Proud of you,
excited
buddy.
for
Proud of you.
you know, official Lost Sheep podcast.
He
member
might get
as
a
of,
contract upgrade
4
because
weeks
of
ago,
that.
a month ago.
Yeah.
No, it's been a minute. It's almost 2 months
six
now.
to
Yeah.
8 weeks.
Yeah.
Really.
So, you know, he hasn't introed yet, and so he did it today. And so now I'm going to let him close. So if you want to, you know, do what Nazaria normally does and plug our like, subscribe. And
Yeah. So, like and subscribe if you're on YouTube. Follow the links on Instagram and on Apple Music and on Spotify. If you're listening on podcast, obviously give us a like. Tell us what you like. Tell us what you didn't like. If you have more questions for future Mailbag episodes or any questions that we can answer off the top of our head on any episodes, put those in the comments on whatever you're watching on. Our beautiful merch, go take a peek at it. If you're interested, text us, tell us that you like it, tell us that you don't like it. But whatever you do, just, engage with us. We want to hear from y'all. Y'all are wonderful. So, signing out, episode 41 of the Lost Sheep podcast. Thank you so much for listening, and God bless.